it.
Because, hold on, give the man his flowers.
All right, well, luckily, we only have one more category.
I got this.
We were so close to the finish line.
2026, bring it on.
All damn day. Happy Friday, Falcons fans. Welcome back to the Friday Five. We've got a special episode recapping the 2025 season on tap for you all today. It's, I guess, a little bit of a crossover episode because we're calling these our final whistles, even though, you know, that is a name attributed to our post-game show, the Final Whistle, or Falcons Final Whistle. So today we've got 11 topics to go through. We're going to kind of recap the season with some superlatives, and we're going to be back every Friday throughout the offseason, kind of keeping up with news as it happens. We'll have some fun stuff planned when there is no news. And if there's any major news, you may hear from us a little bit quicker, and we may hop on the mics as soon as it all takes place to recap what went down, share our thoughts, our analysis, all of that good stuff. If you missed it, please go back and check out our episode recapping Matt Ryan's introductory press conference with Arthur Blank and Greg Beatles. I thought it was really enlightening and just kind of a good State of the Union where the Falcons are and kind of where they hope to go in the near future. So with all of that said, Tori, Terrin, how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing well. I feel like things have settled in, now that Matt has been introduced and kind of going through the process of head coach, general manager searches, all of that we'll talk about in due course. But at least for the time being, we definitely wanted to at least have a little bit of closure on the 2025 season. So that's what we're doing today.
I mean, it was less than 2 weeks ago, so I don't think we're too delayed here. It feels like at least a month ago, but only 2 weeks. So we're not too late with this, Epi.
Yeah, and we have been using those 2 weeks to prepare just for this episode. We have done nothing else over the last 2 weeks. It has been hard spent time getting ready for everything that you're about to hear. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop on into our final whistles. The first category that we have down is most entertaining game. Each of these start with my name on the spreadsheet, but Tori, why don't we start with you? Okay.
My pick for most entertaining game is Week 15 versus Tampa Bay, the Thursday night game, Creamsicles versus Red Helmets, 29-28 final score. I picked this one because, first off, aesthetically, beautiful aesthetics. It was fantastic. Creamsicles and Red Helmets in and of themselves. I just loved it. It was also one of the crazier games. It was one of those, do y'all know the Stefan skit from SNL when he's like, this place has everything.
New York's hottest club is
That's my favorite. It is one of my favorite things. I laugh so hard every time. But this game felt like that skit.
I have absolutely no idea.
She looks so uncomfortable right now.
She's like, I don't know what you're talking
so
about.
I can't participate in this comparison.
The lay of the land is that he's just talking about all of these random things that a club could potentially have or a restaurant could have, and it's the most insane things you would ever hear, but it's the way he delivers it is really funny. But this game is like that skit.
Yeah.
This game had everything. Throwbacks. It was a 1-point deficit score. There was a franchise record in penalties.
Yeah, I was going to say there was a lot of yellow. You mentioned the red and the creamsicle. There was a lot of yellow. Game.
It started a 4-game win streak, but it was also really important for the Falcons to win that game because they had lost 7 of their last 8 coming off of the bye week.
Helped knock Tampa out of the playoffs.
Yes. Mm-hmm. At one point, the Bucs were up 28-14 in the fourth quarter. They had Atlanta on 3rd and 28 on the last drive. They had 125-25 penalty yards over the Falcons, and they still lost the game.
Wait, was it really 3rd and 28?
3rd and 28, yeah. Y'all can
reversed it.
I know. Y'all can take that as you see fit. I have no comment. But
hey, we won that game.
We won that game.
It's all good.
And so that's my pick. It is the game that I felt like had everything. It at the time, it mattered. I think morally, more moral victory more than it did, playoffs and everything like that. Because by that time, the Falcons had already been pretty much mathematically eliminated. It ended up coming down to the wire a bit more for Carolina. So, but that's my pick. I thought that game was the most entertaining and craziest game of the entire season.
I'll go very quickly because I have the same game.
Nice.
So,
love it.
I have a different game, but I don't have nearly as much info on it.
Which game?
That's all good.
I went with the Colts game. I know
Okay.
it was an overtime loss, but it was in Berlin.
Terrin's like,
I don't think there was another option
Yeah.
because it was in Berlin. And that stadium and that environment really made it. So regardless of the outcome, that game will forever be seared into my memory.
yeah, Country Roads, like, rendition from a Berlin crowd was one of the most special things that I think I've seen at a game.
It was cool that the like press box was also out in the wild, like in the middle of the stands, outdoors.
Really?
Because I do think we were so like ingrained with the fans that there was a big play at one point and I was like, oh my God, and yelled it, but no one could
knew.
hear me. But she looked at me like, what are you doing? I was like, I forgot.
Yeah, there's no
because you were
speaking
just
in front.
literally in the wild with the other people.
Yep, it was cool.
All right. Well, those are great answers. You love to travel, so I'm not surprised.
I do love to travel.
All right, next one. We got our favorite player to talk about this year. I feel like it's...
Guys, it has to be the exact same.
Should we
Should
all
we try
say
it on the count of three?
Sure.
One, two, three.
Bijan.
Bijan Robinson.
I was going to say David Sills. Darn. Bijan Robinson is definitely the pick.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we've got a couple of other spots that we can talk about Bijan, maybe. I know I've got him down for a couple other categories coming up, so why don't we save that? Because we talked a lot about Bijan all year long, and we will talk about him here probably in a
He
in
should
a
have his
little
own
bit.
epi.
Just
The Bijan episode?
The
Yeah.
Bijan episode.
Stay tuned. Maybe we will
And
do
we
that.
invite him on
Honestly,
to come and just
Note
talk about
that
himself.
idea.
All right, next one. Biggest what if moment. And actually, Terrin, you start us off.
30-0.
Really?
Yeah.
If
In
the
week
Falcons,
Yeah.
have the Falcons had won in week 3 and went into the bye with 4 straight wins, I wonder what kind of momentum would have come out of the bye. I mean, yes, they did win the game right after the bye, and it was a huge win against the Bills. But they kept referencing that Carolina game, I think, throughout the season, that I wonder if it didn't happen in the way that it did, that what would have happened. That's my what if.
So
That's a good one.
Yeah, I, to go off of that, because my answer is actually the other Carolina game. It's,
Wow,
Yes,
okay.
it's the what if the Falcons would have beaten the Panthers in overtime in week 11. And because I was actually pretty close to putting the week 3 one, because I felt like that one was just such a dagger in a way.
Yeah.
But I felt like in terms of how the season ended, I ended up putting more weight on the overtime loss. One, because it was closer. 2, because of how the NFC South division ended up kind of leveling out.
Yep.
And if you would have won that game, then I believe the Falcons would have been the ones that held the tiebreaker.
100%.
If things would have continued to look exactly the same and the only thing that changed was that game. So that one was my biggest what if moment.
That's awesome. I didn't have either of those. I wrote down 2. I guess I'm going to flip it real quick here, and I'm going to say Jonathan Taylor's touchdown run in Berlin, because
Against the Colts,
I think I'm thinking more like if you get a chance to redo one moment or one play, and I think the Falcons defense makes that stop, because it was kind of a weird play
It
where
was.
he was bottled up and then just kind of found that
even
lane on the outside.
Caden Ellis said in the locker room, too, after that game was, everybody thought that we had gotten him.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why
It looked like
ended
a
up,
2-yard
up.
loss.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it ended up being,
He snuck out.
Yeah.
He literally snuck out because they thought
Yep.
they had tackled him, and alas, they did not.
yeah.
So I think coming off of the New England game where you felt like you were really close, and then you had that kind of Colts game late in
that was
the
a good
fourth
game,
quarter.
too.
That
and,
was
yeah.
another one I had. I had the New England game. What if you wouldn't have missed that extra point?
Yep.
And you
And-
would have gone to overtime.
Speaking of that, the other one I had written down was week 1, make that field goal, go in overtime. I kind of think that just to start the season off
Yeah.
in that way was pretty tough.
Yeah.
The one that immediately came to mind when you mentioned Jonathan Taylor's touchdown is also the Rashid Shaheed touchdown with the Seahawks, where you held them through the first half, but then you come out and give that touchdown right away. And they said that's what was the turning point, and kind of took the wind out of their sails completely. That what if that hadn't happened? What would have the second half looked like? Because you wouldn't have been so discouraged after
Right.
such a big play.
Yeah.
A lot of what if moments.
A lot of, and that's kind of what makes
the
this
NFL.
season. I think also kind of what makes this season so frustrating for fans and of the Falcons is we have just listed 6, 7 different nope, don't do it. I didn't mean to do that, but we just listed that many
Yeah.
instances of how the season could have been different if these singular moments were different.
Yeah, and again, I mean, sitting here at 8 and 9, right? A razor thin margin.
Right.
And any one of these what if moments could have swung everything.
Yep.
All right, next one. Expectation that never manifested. And I'll start.
Yeah,
I have Darnell Mooney kind of playing at a high level. And I'm going to actually attribute this back to our conversation with Steve Weish when he was here during training camp, sitting right where you are now. And he was kind of like, man, I am so high on Darnell Mooney. I think what he's going to do in year 2 of this offense is X, Y, and Z. And I think that was the first day of training camp when we didn't know at the time he was going to miss all of camp kind of with his injury. And so I just kind of, there's a what if moment as well. Like if he doesn't get hurt, how does Atlanta's receiving core look? How does it operate? Like all of that stuff. So that was kind of one where I expected more from him, and we just never really got that this year. What about you, Tori?
So I'm going to stick with the wide receiver room, actually.
Interesting.
The expectation that never manifested for me was Drake London 1,000-yard season. And
so close.
That's not anyone's fault. Like, Drake got hurt. And I think that going into the season, we knew that Drake London was poised for a major year because you could see time after time in those 3 games that Michael Penix started at the end of 2024 that there was a connection there. And it was evident that Michael Penix was going to get Drake London the ball. And I really, really was going into 2025 expecting an all-pro year for Drake London.
He was on pace.
And he was on pace. And that's that's why it's like upsetting that this is the one that I decided to talk about, was because he very easily could have done the things that we expected him to do, like being an all-pro, being a Pro Bowler, having a 1,000-yard season, like leading the team in touchdown receptions. Like, he was ready and on pace to do all of those things. And then the injury happens and he misses a month on the grass. And then even coming back for the final few games of the season, like still kind of knocking the rust off.
Yeah.
Like
that injury in general is
just the injury
tough,
in general, and when it happened, and it was just like that was again, it's one of those things that like I expected it and it didn't manifest, but it's just one of those unfortunate situations that it didn't manifest.
I had 2. One was Darnell Mooney reaching 1,000 yards because he was 8 yards short the year before, and I wrote about it in the preseason, and you want it for him, even though he said he doesn't care about the 1,000 yards, he cares about winning. So the other one I wrote, though, and I'm just going to leave it with one sentence, is a full season from Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a category kind of like later on down is what we can't wait to see next year. And I think last year that was easily Michael Penix, right? Was kind of how is he going to look his full year as a starter? And unfortunately, we never got that full year as a starter. So, I mean, it's still excited to see him when he gets back out there, but I think it's a great one, Terrin. Unsung hero of the team. Let's go right back to you, Terrin.
Can anyone guess?
Zane Gonzalez.
Bradley Pinion. I knew it.
Bradley Pinion.
I knew it.
Because, hold on, give the man his flowers. I know you're not being sarcastic, but to everyone rolling their eyes, because I know it's coming.
Yeah, we hear you.
Bradley Pinion, pinned an NFL best 34 punts within the 20-yard line. He had a 53.1 success rate with that. And just think about it. That sets your defense up in a great spot to make sure the opposing team does not make moves down the field.
Yeah.
Like,
for as much as we talked about special teams, like
Bradley Pinion, star power.
For me, it is D. Alford. So
That's a good one.
Yeah.
D. Alford is somebody who I think kind of unfairly got a lot of like vitriol last year for either not making plays or like being, I feel like he was kind of the scapegoat a little bit of the defense last year. And I didn't necessarily feel that it was fully deserved. Like, did he miss some plays? Yes, of course, absolutely. Like, that's going to happen. But did he deserve, I think, the vitriol that was kind of sent his way? No. I went into the season really excited to see Billy Bowman Jr., and I was very, very high on Billy Bowman in training camp, and I was really excited to see he won that nickel spot to start. But then, and he played lights out. Like, we were talking about Billy Bowman Jr. before we ever were talking about James Pierce Jr., Jalen Walker, and Xavier Watts. Like, and then he has the unfortunate Achilles injury, and we don't see him the rest of the season. Well, then enter D. Alford. In the back half of the season, somebody who had something to prove, probably a little bit to himself as well. He had something to prove to the fan base. And what he ended up doing in that situation where he's coming in off of like someone who had a really good start to the season and was really people were really excited about, I thought that he played very well in that nickel spot and was reliable. I thought that he tackled well. Of course, not everything's perfect. Nothing ever is in the secondary, but you could rely on D. Alford, and I think it goes a long way with kind of like what his maturation is as a player. And I thought that what he did, and I think even Jesse Bates said something along the lines later in the season about how important D. Alford is from even just a communication standpoint at that nickel spot. So, D. Alford, you're my unsung hero of the 2025 season.
Yeah, when I was writing the D. Alford kind of feature late in the season, he told me that this season was his redemption season.
Mm-hmm.
And you have everyone else like praising him. I know Jeff Ulbrich went on ad nauseum about how D. Alford's diversity, versatility, one of those words, but I mean versatility. I was like going down the Rolodex of different words that all sound and look the same. Versatility.
There you go.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, I think there was another V word, savvy.
Savvy.
Kind of like veteran presence from him late in the year, especially when you talk about the Tampa game and then that season finale against the Saints. Like him stepping into the flat to kind of make that interception was one of the coolest plays I think all year
Came out
for
of
Atlanta's
nowhere.
defense. Yeah, it was amazing. So glad that he kind of had the year that he did. I'll flip over to the offensive side and I'll say Elijah Wilkinson, because I think that going into the year, right, like, to step into that role and kind of help maintain the run game that Atlanta relied on this year was very big. He played every single snap all season long.
That did surprise me when I saw the final stat sheet.
Yeah, he and Ryan Newsel were the two guys that
the
had
two
it
new
all.
ones.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And so there wasn't really a drop-off, I think, for Atlanta's offensive line this year, even with him in there. So like that's, I think, was a really important part of it all.
Yeah.
I also had Brandon Dorlus down.
I also had LaCale London down.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's
Yeah,
a good
I had
one.
LaCale London. No one's talking about LaCale London in the grand scheme of this defensive front, but
We were.
every single
press
time
box.
he was out on the field, I could feel his presence, and that's something that you want for an interior guy.
All right, standout.
Ooh, sorry.
Yep.
Let's say another one who stepped up, Ronnie Harrison.
Yeah. No, I mean,
I got silent in turn.
No, I was just like going through my brain. Yeah.
Yeah, when Divine Diablo was out and they kind of just kept rotating guys to fill that void.
Yeah, 100%. I think he.
What was even the question? Unsung hero. Oh, I wouldn't say he's an unsung hero, but
All right,
maybe a happy surprise.
moving right along. Standout stat of the year, Tori.
Franchise record in sacks.
57.
I think that if you're gonna, I know we could say literally any Bijan Robinson stat, and I'm sure one of y'all probably have those, but I think I think just in terms of like what stood out to me, the fact that you went from second to last in the league in sacks in 2024 to leading the league and breaking a franchise record with this young core of defensive front guys, like that is, I think, very special, and it's the one thing, if I'm thinking like Bijan Robinson, if I'm looking back on the 2025 season, 1A is Bijan Robinson, 1B is what this defensive front, the jumps that they were able to make in production and play.
I also had the 57 sacks, going from second to last to second overall. Started from the bottom, now they're there.
Nice.
That's good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Do
you have Bijan?
I do have, I had both of them.
Okay,
I like to come prepared, but I do. I'll go with Bijan. I also, in that sack note, I just saw this. I don't know if I'd realized it. The Falcons only gave up 26 sacks on the season.
I saw that too.
Which is crazy to have more than double the amount of sacks that you gave up. I think that's pretty special.
Did they end up
on both sides of the ball?
It's okay if you don't know this, but
They didn't.
they didn't end up in the top 5 in terms of like sacks allowed?
No,
Oh,
I
that?
didn't look that up.
Yeah.
I think it was going into the last game. There was this really fun stat that I was waiting to like see through the final games, and it didn't come to fruition. But the Falcons, I think, were like one of two teams who were in the top 5 in sacks and top 5 in sacks allowed. But it ultimately didn't come out that way.
Dang, yeah.
But it would have been cool to like.
I know
both
that
sides
is
of the line
right,
are popping.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bijan with setting the single
Yeah.
season scrimmage yards record, that is pretty impressive. Although I do think that there is a chance when you say 1A, 1B, I think there's a chance that like the more distance we gain from this, Jared with a note, Falcons were 4th in sacks allowed per game. So they did finish top 5.
Nice.
But I think there is a chance that because Bijan is this special and he kind of, I would bet on him to do it again, that we kind of do remember this as the sack season. You know, that we kind of come back and it's like, oh yeah, that year that Atlanta just
went berserk.
went off defensively. So that's a great guess. Or not guess, that's a great answer. Newcomer of the year, Terrin.
I did Xavier Watts.
That's a good one.
People talk a lot about the first round picks, and rightly so. But I think Xavier sliding opposite of someone like Jesse Bates and really holding his own from the beginning is just something worth being applauded. And I know the story I did earlier in the year with Marcus Freeman is like whatever Xavier's doing does not surprise his Notre Dame family. And it just goes to speak to what everyone on the roster has said about Xavier, where it's like he has a veteran presence even if he is a rookie. So I think he has done very, very well.
Will you go?
We probably have the same one.
Say it on the count of 3.
Well, I was gonna.
Okay.
I have a couple ways I could go.
Well, then I'll say James Pierce Jr.
Right.
I mean, obviously, like 10.5 sacks, led the team in sacks. Was just kind of from the jump was an intriguing presence in the locker room, on the field. Like he was just a cool character for the season. So yeah, I'm happy to have James Pierce Jr. on the team.
Yeah, I also had James Pierce Jr., but I'm gonna go a different way with my answer. Divine Diablo.
Love it.
I know we're kind of talking about rookies, but this is a free agent signing that immediately moved the needle towards what Jeff Ulbrich was wanting within this inside linebacker core when he wasn't on the field, when he had the fracture in his forearm. You noticed a difference because of everything that he provided this defense in the middle of it. You felt his presence when he was there, and you missed it when he wasn't. And I think, like, in terms of someone coming in who maybe people didn't really know what to make of him because you didn't really know that much about him, the fact that he became such this integral piece of this defense very, very quickly says a lot about him. Also says a lot about, I think, like Jeff Ulbrich, the scouting department, in like pinpointing this as a guy that they wanted to bring in. And also just kind of like him in general being this, again, we go back to versatility, but being this very versatile piece. And I'll remember for so long the Buffalo Bills game when Josh Allen makes this beautiful throw and without even like, literally Divine Diablo's like running back his turn to the ball and he just puts his arm up for a PBU. And he was everywhere all at once. And I really loved watching Divine Diablo in this defense this past year.
That's a great answer. I'm kicking myself because I was like trying to think of a non-rookie, and and for whatever reason it just kind of like he went out of my brain. But yeah, like that's a perfect answer.
Thank you.
All right, next one. Highlight of the year. Terrin, let's start with you.
I hadn't gotten to that one, which is fine.
Just pick any. Just say like insert anything Bijan did here.
Literally insert anything Bijan Robinson did. But at the same time,
surely there's a Bradley Pinion punt that you can think of.
Any Zane Gonzalez moment.
The highlight of the year was Zane Gonzalez coming in and saving special teams and becoming that kicker that the Falcons needed, wanted, especially at that time of the year.
Yeah.
I am gonna pass to you, Tori.
Oh, okay.
I want to do what you just did. I'm gonna kind of go one of two ways.
I don't think either of y'all, and probably not even producer Jared, is thinking about this moment at all. This is probably not a moment that anyone at home is being like, "This is the moment that we the highlight of the year." But
was it Freddie bungee jumping off?
No,
okay.
I'm sending a tweet in our podcast channel of a photo. And I hope, Jared, when you go and if you could pull this photo up for everyone.
Heck yeah.
Oh, when
the fact that and hopefully this photo is up so everyone at home can see it. But the fact in the Tampa Bay game that Ryan Newsel recovered this fumble is one of the crazier, funniest moments of the season for me. I could talk about Bijan in any capacity all day long. I could talk about Kyle Pitts and his 3 touchdown game. I could talk about Drake London mossing 3 different New England DBs. But this moment, the fact that there are 7 Tampa Bay Buccaneers around 1 Darnell Mooney, ball is on the ground, and Ryan Newsel recovered this ball is a highlight in and of itself.
That's an amazing. Yeah, that's another.
Thank
really
you.
good one.
That was a niche poll. I
Thank
respect
you.
that poll.
Thank
That's
you.
solid. Yeah, is that? I don't even know if that's up on that whiteboard out there.
I know, it should be.
We need
It
to
should
get it. So I am going to give an honorable mention to AJ Terrell's pass breakup
Yes.
against Puka because
Crazy.
like everything about that play
Yeah.
was amazing, and it was even more amazing that it wasn't a completion.
Right.
So I feel safe in being like, yay,
Yeah.
that was
That
so
was a
good.
crazy
But
one.
like, oh my gosh. My highlight of the year is back-to-back plays, James Pierce Jr.
Yes.
getting the franchise record and then getting double-digit sacks. I thought that was kind of a cool
It's a really good one.
end cap on, again, a season that we're going to remember for Atlanta's pass rush,
Yeah.
which feels amazing to say, and I can't say it enough times.
Another kind of honorable mention, as we're talking about James Pierce Jr., is the strip sacks of JPJ and Jalen Walker. You can
Yep.
pick
the back-to-back.
Yeah, you
that
can
was
pick which one you
hilarious.
want, but like either the New England one or the Colts one, but both of them were just key moments in those games, and it was just like really good validation at that point in time to be like your first round picks are doing that.
What was so funny after the word was talking to like Jalen Walker about it, and he goes, "Thunder and lightning,"
Huh.
and I'm like,
Which
"Which
one's
one's
that?
which?"
Yeah.
And he goes,
Either.
"Either." And then it was just like, "Okay."
I don't know if that's how it
And
works.
then asking James Pierce Jr. about it, he goes, "Yeah." Like, I don't know that was actually a nickname in place.
No,
But
I
it
don't
just
think
came
so.
out in the moment. And anytime I thought of Thunder and Lightning, I more so thought of Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier.
Which makes more sense as a.
But
hey, you know,
hey, that was Thunder and Lightning
love that for them.
when it comes to strip sacks.
Yeah.
All right, this next one is I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I will, because we've already kind of like talked about this a little bit. I had losing to the Panthers twice. I mean, I'm a little bit mad about it, but I'm also just like,
Yeah.
I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
How do you lose?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Tori, what do you got?
We've also kind of hit on mine as well. I kind of said that the wide receiver room didn't like collectively amount to what you needed it to in 2025.
Yep.
You released Ray McLeod, Darnell Mooney and his injury, and then kind of never really seeing the Darnell Mooney that we saw last year. Drake London being at the top of his game, but then getting injured. Like there were Casey Washington being a healthy scratch for majority of the final month of the season, if not longer than that. Like the fact that the wide receiver room was a position group that I went into 2025 feeling the most confident about, having like the least amount of concerns about, and that it ended up being a position group that I arguably had the most concern about, and the one that I feel you have to kind of retool going into 2026 is like, I'm not mad that happened, but I am disappointed to see kind of that level of fall off that I felt like the group had.
I'm going to go with tying for the best record in the NFC South. Like, yes, it's a great way to finish the season, but it's also like you were right there.
Yeah.
So I'm not mad that you tied for first. I'm disappointed you didn't take first because there were so many opportunities. It's like that 4-game winning streak came too little too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Great point. Main thing to address this offseason, and I will start with wide receiver. Like I kind of think that if we're gonna, like there are probably bigger things on that list, but to me, in 2026, like I think they need one more starting caliber kind of wide receiver, not just for depth purposes, but just kind of what it allows you to do with the versatility of your formations and your personnel groupings and things like that. Obviously, a lot of that depends on some other questions that need to be answered first, and kind of exactly what is Atlanta's offense going to look like, and what are they going to try to do, and what's their approach going to be this season. But I have to imagine that whatever the answer is to those questions, like you're going to need maybe one more wide receiver.
I'll go. It's kind of obvious. If finding a head coach and GM is 1A, finding your potential starting quarterback for the first month of the season in training camp is 1B. At this point in time, we don't really know what the timeline for Michael Penix's return is. We can kind of only speculate on, things that we know, having been in this industry for as long as what we have, about ACL recovery timelines. But I think that even if Michael Penix gets the, all clear to get on the grass come training camp or the first part of the season, the preseason, I don't know if he is to the point in week one that you need him to be, especially if you're installing a new-ish offense with new terminology, new people in place. I think that there's going to be kind of this up-in-the-air nature about this offense, to your point. And so for that reason, I feel like you have to go into this offseason with the understanding of you've got to figure out what you're doing at the quarterback position in the event you do not have Michael Penix to start the year. If you do not have Michael Penix to start the year, even if you feel like he can get to that point, you still need a plan B.
Yep.
Because who's to say that, he is clear, he is in a good spot, but he still needs time in this offense. I think, especially not being able to be fully 100% cleared from that rehab process. So that's my main thing you need to address this offseason, is kind of your quarterback position and what that ultimately looks like.
Well, the first domino that has to fall is head coach and GM.
Mm-hmm.
You need to figure out who is going to be making those decisions, who is going to make the decision of a defensive coordinator and all the other assistant coaches, so that you can figure out what the offense is going to look like, what the game plan is if Michael Penix Jr. isn't ready. You're kind of dancing around without a head right now.
Mm-hmm.
That was a terrible analogy.
Kind of like chicken running around,
with its head cut off.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I see the analogy you're trying to make. Yeah,
I'm just picturing Jack the Skeleton guy, the headless horseman.
Yep.
I don't know. Yeah, it's January. And I am thinking in Halloween terms. I couldn't even think of what month it was.
We've broken Terrin.
That's literally what I was thinking. I was like, we just watched.
We literally just watched her
shut down over
become
here.
the on a MacBook the rainbow wheel.
Yeah.
That was you in that moment.
I've been. I think it's because I've been listening to a lot of psychological thrillers. A big Frida McFadden fan right now when it comes to audiobooks.
No relation.
And so no relation. I tried asking that. Remember?
It's all good.
But so my mind is just.
All right. Well, luckily we only have one more category.
I got this.
We were so close to the finish line.
I had the answer until the answer went all well until I had to put a period on the damn sentence.
All right. Well, let's.
Gosh, that's my first time slipping up on a podcast.
It's okay. I think we're allowed to say that.
I don't know.
Yeah, we're keeping it in.
2026, bring it on.
All damn day. Let's do it.
Jared's like, no.
Well, in football, if a receiver drops a pass or something, you usually go right back to him. So, Terrin, we're going right back to you.
Yay.
What can you not wait to watch next year?
This whole revamp kind of unfold, and it'd be amazing to see it come to fruition how they desire and see a winning season. It has been 8 years
since playoff.
Arthur Blank just made a massive sweeping change to the organization that I just can't wait to see if it works out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All the dice are up in the air.
Yeah.
Time to let them fall.
I think my answer is pretty similar. Not knowing kind of what type of scheme is in place right now, it's kind of hard for me to truly, I feel answer this at this point. But from what we know right now, and after having my own conversations with Matt Ryan in his introductory press conference, and then again in our one-on-one conversation immediately after, I am excited to see Matt Ryan, the executive. I'm excited to walk down the hallway and see Matt. And I am as much respect that I had for Matt Ryan, the player, Matt Ryan, the TV analyst. I could not be more enthralled with the idea of Matt Ryan being in this building once more, and what that means for the Falcons organization in this coming year. That's something I'm excited to watch. I'm excited to watch him kind of take the next step in his career.
It's a whole different position than ever before, at least at this facility.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know about y'all, but at least speaking for myself, I feel like there is a new level of excitement with him back in the building. You can kind of feel this sense of confidence because Matt Ryan is associated with winning here in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so yeah, that's a great one. I've got a player.
Go ahead.
I figured you guys would kind of do a little bit more.
We're doing more philosophical, like get us granular.
Jalen Walker.
Yeah.
I feel like, it was a DQism was the player makes kind of their biggest leaps year 1 to year 2, year 2 to year 3. And I think when we look at this rookie class, I know what Xavier Watts can do. I know what Billy Bowman can do. I know what James Pierce Jr. can do. We saw all of that. I think that Jalen Walker still has the most room to grow.
Yeah. Which I think was the expectation, right? Like as he was honing in on what Jeff Ulbrich wanted from him, I felt like James Pierce Jr.'s path to being the traditional edge rusher that Jeff Ulbrich wanted him to be was not an easier path, but it was more in line with what he has already been doing.
Yeah.
Whereas Jalen Walker, there was a bit more of a time to grow, time to develop, to your point.
Yeah, it's like, James Pierce Jr. is like that one tool, right, where you keep it really sharp. It's like we know exactly what this is used for, and it does it at an extremely high level. But Jalen Walker is kind of that Swiss Army knife, and you need to, learn how to use every tool with that Swiss Army knife, but then polish them up, right? And so that's where I think in year 2, after really, I think, shining kind of in the role that they had for him in year 1, which wasn't a given, and that was a lot of the things talked about kind of post-draft, was even at Georgia, his versatility was his strength, but it also meant that he was coming in to do something at the next level that he didn't just do
all the
down
time.
in and down out at college.
Yeah.
So that's where what is that vision for him?
Yep.
Do they try to keep him there, and does he continue to get better off the edge, or now do they kind of, with Caden Ellis set to be a free agent, we don't know what the plan is going to be kind of at linebacker. Do they move him into more of that chess PC role that we know he can play? So I think you guys had great answers, but when it comes to just kind of the roster and on the field, Jalen Walker is probably the number 1 player that I am intrigued by, just to see.
I love that answer.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cool. Well, that was the 2025 season.
Wow.
It was 2 weeks ago.
That's insane. I refuse to believe that.
Thank you all so much for listening, for watching. Please, again, check out the YouTube channel. We've got so many amazing videos, recaps, highlights from the season, all the press conferences, things like that coming down the docket. And leave a comment. Let us know. If you have any category ideas for next year, anything creative, let us know. If you got any show ideas, now is the time.
We have a whole offseason ahead of us.
That's true.
Yeah, we got to plan it. So so let us know. Let us steal your ideas, and we'll give them right back to you.
Yeah. Whatever you want to see, we're game.
Yeah. We are here at your disposal. We are yours to command. I am. I'm your puppet. Anything else before we get out of here?
No,
not
thanks
really.
for listening. I know we didn't get to say it in the last podcast because we were so focused on the Matt Ryan of it all, but thank you everyone for listening to Friday 5 this past season. I know it was a new show, and we hope you enjoyed it. I know we did.
Yeah, and I think that I personally have seen, especially recently, I think I've told Terrin and Will this a couple times, but in the final couple of games that we were at home, I ended up going into the grandstand and to go see some family members or my boyfriend, and I ran into some people periodically as I'm walking through that either follow our coverage or watch the show, and it was so great to talk to you guys. That's always why I love training camp too, is to get the chance to speak directly one-on-one with you guys, the people who, we serve information up and analysts and analysis and all the things to you guys, what we're here for you guys. And so I am personally very thankful for the people who have ever come up and said anything kind. And I don't want to speak for both of you guys, but this was kind of a new venture for us. Want to thank Cy, who is someone who really helped us figure out what this show was and really helped all of us grow in our own ways. So shout out Cy, shout out producer Jared, who has been our dude, our guy, our man for the entirety of the season.
Sophia too.
And Sophia.
Yeah.
The producer 2.0.
Yep.
So somebody did recognize me out in the wild the other week from the show.
Yeah, you texted me.
I think I short-circuited. So whoever, if you're watching now, I'm so sorry. I was just hi. Yeah, I do work for the Falcons. But I was out at a bar watching games, had a few drinks, and I was hi.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, thank you guys.
be careful when you approach a wild beast in the wild.
Yeah, but thank you guys so much. It's all for y'all, so we really do appreciate it. But for Tori McElhaney, Terrin Waack, I'm Will McFadden. We will be back next week with another edition of the Friday Five. But until then, take care.